Join James Kelly and Sandy Kastel on location for a behind-the-scenes look at the Boca Park Summer Bash, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Sponsored by KLAV, Cadillac of Las Vegas, Nevada Youth Alliance, Silk and Satin Records, and the Stores of Boca Park, all in support of WIMA, the Women in Music and Arts Foundation, with James and Sandy broadcasting live from 4 to 5 p.m. The Boca Park Summer Bash, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Relax and enjoy the next hour with recording artist Sandy Kastel as she takes you on a musical journey with women in music and arts, jazz and cocktails, for an intimate look into the world of jazz and its musicians, singers, and songwriters. And now, your host, Sandy Kastel.
Make a difference with WIMA, Women in Music and Arts. WIMA is a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering artists of all ages through education and mentorship. And becoming a member is easy. Log on to WIMAinternational.com. That's WIMA, W-I-M-A, international.com. Or call 702-240-2930. 702-240-2930. The benefits of membership are many. There are empowering women workshops, monthly WIMA mixers at different locations, art shows, songwriter showcases, big band performances, poetry readings, and so much more. And membership starts at just $25. Log on now to WIMAinternational.com or call 702-240-2930. That's 702-240-2930. WIMA, Women in Music and Arts, Las Vegas's #1 women's organization for scholarships in the arts.
Hello, this is Sandy Kastel, and welcome to Jazz and Cocktails. We are streaming live on KLAV 1230am.com, and we are live on KLAV 1230 AM radio. And my guest tonight is Roger Hall. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Sandy. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on the show. This is wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here. You are one of, you said you've been here in Las Vegas, probably the longest of any musician here. So let's tell the audience, tell how you got here and how long you've been here.
Well, I came out here from Pennsylvania, from Erie. Mm-hmm. I was playing in little jazz groups around there, and it was great, working steady. But I woke up one New Year's morning that this economy is going down. I said, we got to get out of here before we get too many roots. I had a wife and a 6-month-old boy. I said, we have to go. I don't want to go to what I call the old country, like New York, Chicago, where it takes you years to get into the clique. I wanted some place that was growing from the ground up. So Las Vegas, that's the place to go. We get right in on the beginning, so we came out here, and the only person I knew was the leader of the band at the Desert Inn. Uh-huh. And he was putting together what was called a relief band.
Oh, my gosh. So now what is a relief band?
Okay, a relief band or swing band, they use either term. At that time, the shows went 7 nights a week. Mm-hmm. 2 shows a night, 7 nights a week, but the band was only allowed to play 6 because of the union. Oh. So they had to have a band that could play the show on the 7th night. So we wound up eventually, when they built enough hotels, we had 6 hotels, and we would rotate Monday at the Dunes, Tuesday is Riviera, Wednesday Stardust, Thursday the DI, Friday Tropicana, Sunday the Sands. So we'd make that circuit. Every week I'd play 6 different shows a week. Never got bored. It even paid better than sitting on a house band. And it was just wonderful. I just fell into it, came out here at the right time, Boomtown, USA, and we loved it. And, of course, we bought a home and raised a family. And we really love it here. And I got the chance to work steady. I didn't have to go on the road and do the one-nighter bus tours and the 600-mile jumps to get to the next gig.
Oh, my gosh.
So I didn't have to do all that. I was able to sit here all these years and play for all the big stars, and really enjoyed it. Got to meet some people I never would have met before, You got to play for Jack Benny and Dean Martin, of course, Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, and all that jazz. So it was really worked out just wonderful. And I look back and I can't believe I was in the middle of all that history of all these great entertainers. Just wonderful experience.
So you actually got to perform a lot more than some of the other musicians on a variety of shows where if they were on one show, they could really just work that one show
Yes.
all the time. And here you were getting the experience on a lot of different shows. I mean, 6 nights a week.
Yes.
You were able to rotate around.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, much more interesting. And some of those shows, the big production shows, the same show was in sometimes for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I know some of my friends, they would go nuts sitting there night after night playing the same show. And I only had to do it once a week. So it was great. I really loved it. And the other guys that sat on the show, it was much easier. You could almost, a lot of the guys didn't even have to open the book after a while. They knew the music by heart and just left the book closed, memorized it. But it sort of drove them up the wall. Oh, that's me. Okay.
So tell me, what was your first inspiration to become a musician? Let's go back a few years, okay?
Okay.
Because obviously you moved here and you jumped right in and you were playing in the relief bands. But something got you inspired when you were, what, a little boy?
Yeah, my mother was a music teacher, and she taught music and history, and she played great ragtime piano. And she used to moonlight in theaters at the time. There were silent movies, and she'd make up all the chase music and all the love tunes behind the music. So she was good that way. But when it came time for when I was, I think about 13, I didn't really start early as a lot of people. But about 13, she wanted to know if I wanted to get into music. She says, I'd like you to take a year of piano before you take up an instrument. Or maybe you want to stay on piano.
So she had you start with piano.
Yeah, but of course she was wise enough to know not to teach me. She got a teacher. You really don't, not too good to have your mother teach you.
No.
So after a year of that, we decided on the clarinet, and she said, "Look, I'm going to rent the clarinet. I think it was 50 cents a week or something like that, and I'll drive you to the place to get the private lessons on clarinet." But she says, I'm not going to beg you to practice. If you don't want to practice, that's fine. I'm not going to get on your case. Of course, she didn't use those terms at that time, but
Sure.
But she wasn't going to bug me about any of it. She said, if you don't want to practice, that's fine. The clarinet goes back in the store, and we'll forget it. Don't worry about it.
Well, so she wasn't going to pressure you, and she wasn't
No.
going to drag you to lessons. She figured
Yeah.
if you were interested, that it was up to you to make sure that you got the lessons.
Yes.
And
So
study.
I
Right.
took had a knack for it, evidently. So I would practice, and the kids would be downstairs. Hey, Roger, come out and play. I said, I got to practice. But I had no intention at that time of being a full-time musician. I figured maybe I'd be a salesman like my dad, or I had no idea what in high school. But I was playing all the time, the symphony band, the concert band, the dance band, the marching band, and my teacher would put me into various solo things around the county and the state. So I was always playing, never was without it. So it didn't impress me that much, but I still love music. Anyway, I became an air cadet in the Air Corps during the Second War. And so when I was called up, of course, I had to leave my horns at home. And I was called up, and they, while waiting to go to a certain stage of training, they would park you on an airfield waiting to go to school. And whatever your expertise was, if you're a mechanic, okay, we'll put you down to help mechanics. So during this time, I'd had boot training, boot camp and all that. And there was something missing. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
Because I wasn't playing. And I just, it doesn't seem right. And I was only 18. But and I had no idea what it was until I had a chance to, that said, if you're a musician, put you with the band. Well, of course, the band never had to draw KP or a lot of stuff. Well, that was great. So I got on the horn, called my folks to send my horns out. That's when I realized how important music was. Because up to then, I always had it. And when it was taken away, I just, I felt sort of in limbo.
I can relate to that because I think as a musician, an artist, when you've got a talent or something that you're passionate about, you can survive for a little while without doing it. I mean, obviously we can survive, but I mean, really, when our heart is missing that, I think it really makes a difference. I can go for a while without singing, but if I go too long, it's like, okay, I got to go sing. I got to do it.
I have to keep trying to get better.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not really doing music as a living anymore. What I do, there isn't that much call for it for big band, small group jazz, but it's the type of stuff that lights my fire. This is what motivates me, and this is what makes me practice, is that I want to be better today than I was a month ago.
Well, and you play a lot in the rehearsal bands over at the Jim Hemmings studio?
Yes.
Over in Henderson?
Yes.
And where actually I met you was through working with different shows that I've done with you, with my dad, because my dad's a jazz musician, plays saxophone, so everybody knows out there. And then now you do the rehearsal bands a lot, and sometimes you get to go out and play at different venues, like we played at the East Ring back in April with all the WIMA girls.
Yes, that was great. I really enjoyed that, to hear all the girls sing. And I think we had a couple of rehearsals with the band. It's the first time I ever had a chance to hear you sing. Your father, who I work with a lot on those rehearsal bands, would tell me about you, and he gave me a CD that you did, which was great.
This time around one, right?
But I never had a chance to see you live, and of course that's different. Live performance, it's the same way when I was working the shows here. I'd work people like Lena Horne, who I loved. I saw her on TV and movies, and she was great. I loved her. But to play her live, the impact is just stunning. For like her, when she would hit the stage, it was like you could see the electricity going from her to the audience and back again. She was that dynamic.
Oh, yes.
And I almost can't play because you're used to, well, I know Lena Horne. I see her in the movies and TV, and she's great. But she comes on the stage and you'll become a blithering idiot.
That's Lena Horne.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So it's that type of feeling. And even all these years, music still turns me on and motivates me. And I like pedal to the metal. And that's the way I play. I don't lay back. I'm not a cool player. I'm just a kick player.
Are you saying you're a hot player?
Yeah, I get into it, and if I can't motivate the other guys in the band to inspire them to inspire me, because we all get feedback from each other.
Right.
And that's one of my goals, is to get them to play a little more aggressive, a little more inspiration in play, because this makes me play better.
That's right.
And it's good.
Well, speaking of playing, I'd love to. You brought some of your music tonight, and I'd like to play some of these songs that you brought. The first one is Cherokee. Can you tell me where that was recorded and who that was recorded with?
Yeah, that was downtown. There was a place, a little jazz club, which actually is called The Church on 3rd and Bridger.
Yeah.
And from what they've told me, this is the oldest church in Las Vegas.
Wow.
That's what they say. And it was like a deli in the daytime. At night, they turned into a restaurant, club, nightclub, bar.
Right.
So we worked there. Bobby Morris was on drums.
I remember Bobby.
You do?
Of course. He's been in town for a long time.
Yeah, we worked. In fact, he was in the relief band with me for a short time. And of course, he went with Louis Prima for 10 years or more.
Wow.
And I lost track of him during that time. But then he called me. He said, "I'm down here at the church. I need a saxophone player. I'd like to play."
Great.
I said, "It'd be great." Of course, he has wonderful chops. I mean, he just there's no tempo that he can't play. And he doesn't ask you if you know the tune or if you can play this tempo. He says, "Here,"
He's just like, "Here, let's go."
I said, "Oh, what I stepped into a hornet's nest here." But I practice those tempos, and I love to do that. This is a kick for me to play those, what I call machine gun tempos.
So this was recorded there?
Yes.
Live at the church downtown. Well, here we go with Cherokee.
Gentlemen, are you ready? You better fasten your seat belts for this one. Roger, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, this is Sandy Kastel with Women in Music and Arts. Join Dolly Coulter and Bert Anderson for Bixby's Tales every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. on KLAV 1230 AM radio. Sponsored by WIMA, Women in Music and Arts. Join junior roving reporters Joey and Henry and their credible dog Bixby for adventures all over the globe. That's Bixby's Tales with Dolly Coulter and Bert Anderson, Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. on KLAV 1230 AM radio. See you there. Are you ready, James?
I'm ready.
Good, let's start. Hi, this is Sandy Kastel.
And James Kelly.
Inviting you to join us for our new show, Behind the Scenes with Sandy Kastel.
And James Kelly.
Isn't that kind of redundant?
Sure is.
Join us every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. as we talk with the people behind the scenes of Las Vegas's biggest shows, events, and motion picture productions.
We will introduce you to producers, directors, singers, dancers, and stagehands that bring each show to life.
So, join us every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. Join James Kelly and Sandy Kastel for a live behind-the-scenes look at the Boca Park Summer Bash for WIMA, Women in Music and Arts, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Sponsors include KLAV, Cadillac of Las Vegas, Nevada Youth Alliance, Silk and Satin Records, and the Stores of Boca Park. There will be live music, food, fashion, prizes, poetry readings, and more. Tickets will be available for raffle prizes from the Boca Park stores. Join us for a day of fun and help support the arts. This is Sandy Kastel, and I will see you there.
Welcome back to Women in Music and Arts, Jazz and Cocktails, an intimate look into the world of jazz and its musicians, singers, and songwriters. Now, here again, your host, recording artist, Sandy Kastel.
Welcome back to Jazz and Cocktails with your host, Sandy Kastel. We are broadcasting live from Las Vegas on KLAV, 1230 AM radio, and streaming online at KLAV1230am.com. Rebroadcast of our show can be found this Friday at 10 a.m. on VegasAllNetRadio.com. My guest tonight is Roger Hall. Hi, Roger.
That's me, yes.
Yeah, and that was Roger Hall you were listening to. That was the solo you were playing right at the end there with Cherokee.
Yes, it's Cherokee is sort of a great tune, and one of the big things that we love about tune is what we call the bridge.
Yeah.
Because it's a difficult bridge, and if you really don't know it, usually you point to the piano players and take it. I used to do that before I knew chord changes and how to play before I got up on it.
Uh-huh.
But of course, Charlie Parker, who was one of my idols in the beginning of the movement of the type of stuff I like to play, he could play Cherokee in any key, all 12 keys, and he used to do this just to bug other guys on a stand and make them put their horn back in the case because they couldn't do that. But it's a great tune, and I love it.
Yeah, it was great. I loved listening to it. You talked about Charlie Parker. Was he a big influence on you?
Yes, he was the first of that genre that I heard, because I was from Pennsylvania. And in fact, a little town went through high school was called Meadville, which was outside of Erie. And it was more or less a commercial Dixieland. So I was not exposed to that stuff until I got sort of out of the Army. And then I heard the new stuff that Woody Herman first heard, just a screaming band, and a lot of good jazz players I never knew existed. And I thought, boy, I gotta find out what's going on here. So Charlie was an early influence. I didn't agree with his lifestyle, but that's a separate issue altogether. You don't connect the two.
You don't mix the two.
No, you can't. You can't judge him by that, because he was an absolute genius.
Yes.
At what he did, and that's probably why he went off the edge like he did.
Well, he also laid the groundwork for a whole new way of playing, I understand. What is that, out of the box?
Yes, he and Dizzy Gillespie.
Yeah.
They started this whole new thing. At that time, it was called rebop. That was before the name somehow became bebop, but it was rebop. Because I have a LP album that they did called Rebop.
And for those of you who do not know what an LP album is, it is made out of vinyl. It is black, and it's circular, and it's about 12 inches around, and it has
it's got a hole in the middle.
It has a hole in the middle, and you play it and it runs at 33 1/3 on your record player.
And you got the various scratches and clicks, and it makes a great frisbee too. You can
and I know my dad still has some of those record players that will play those.
I do too.
I do too.
Occasionally, I'll get a customer in my video business that say, I have an LP, I want to put it on CDs.
Well, in fact, my dad probably has a player that will play 78 records.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have one of those too?
Yes, I do.
Well, I don't have that.
It's actually the same player, but you can have the different speeds, 78, 45.
Oh, I thought you could only do 33 1/3 and 45.
Well,
see, I didn't know they had all three of them. That must have been before my time.
Probably, in the dark ages. But it used to have a hand crank on it.
Yeah. No, that was the Victrola.
Had one of those too.
All right, so let's talk about when you first came to Las Vegas. You said you got lucky. You got involved in those relief bands, and also you were raising a family at the same time.
Yes.
So you were able to have the opportunity to go around and play with all these different shows that were going on. Did you get rehearsals with these shows that you were playing on, or did you basically just get thrown in where you just read the music and played the charts?
No, we had to rehearse.
You did.
The scale was the way it was built was one night's pay plus 3 hours of rehearsal time.
Okay.
That was whether you needed it or not.
Okay.
That's the way we were paid, so that's why we got paid more than a house band.
Oh, I see.
We because after we do the show, if it had been in there for a few weeks, we really didn't have to show up for rehearsal.
Right. I was
still
going to
got
say,
paid
once
for
you
it.
learn the music, right?
Yeah, still got
or the
paid
charts
for
that they were playing. Right.
Yeah. So we but we had to have rehearsal, and where the house band usually had a couple of weeks to put the show together, we had one day,
Right.
3 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
We had to have that down, and usually the rehearsal was 10 in the morning till maybe about 5:30 or 6. Had
Wow.
to run home, get something to eat, throw your clothes on, get back in time for the 8 o'clock downbeat.
Were you playing
Play
all
2
that
shows.
time, though? Or were you taking breaks? Or I mean, that's a long time for a musician to be playing.
10-minute break every hour was the union rule.
So you were basically like running down the show, or did you take
yeah.
one song at a, like, what did you do? Take a couple of songs at a time, or run?
No, usually we, if it was a celebrity show, like Dean Martin,
Okay.
He had his book of music.
Yeah.
And then the opening act was maybe a comedian. He might have had a couple
Oh, for
of
the
numbers.
half hour, right, or 20 minutes.
There was always usually a production number.
Okay.
And they had their music. The places like the Stardust and the Dunes, the Casino de Paris, the whole thing was a production show. Most of the acts did not speak English. They were from overseas. So there was no talking stand-up comic where the band could sit there and not have to do anything.
Right.
Every time one, like a juggler would get through, we'd play his music, fire dance and all that, and then he'd play music, take him off, and immediately cut and go into the music to bring the next act on.
Oh.
Even though it may have been maybe a comedy act, like 4 or 5 guys doing funny stuff, all pantomime, it was no English speaking, so it was just wall-to-wall music. But it was great. You built up chops like iron, and used to be funny. We'd maybe get a new guy in the band occasionally, and he would say, I'd tell him, look, now, you got to pace yourself. This is an hour and a half show, and like one version of the Stardust, I never took my horn out of my mouth for over an hour.
Oh, my gosh.
So I said, you got to pace yourself. Oh, yeah, I just got off the band. I was on Woody Herman and Harry James, and I'm going to do all that. I said, okay. So we get about half hour into the show, and my chops are
Right.
paralyzed. I can't play. I sit there and laugh.
That's what I'm saying. That's a lot of tunes. I mean, a lot of hours that you're playing from 10 to 5, even though you're getting the 10-minute breaks.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to play another song because I want to make sure that we play at least a few of your songs here. The next one we have is What's New? Now, I know that song. Of course, I've heard a few people sing it. And one of the more recent ones that was kind of an ironic one was when what's her name?
The one that just died?
No. Of course, obviously, it's been done forever, for years. Okay, it's been a standard forever. And then Nelson Riddle later on did one with, who's the girl? Oh, my gosh, that we all know. That my dad always says something. Linda Ronstadt.
Oh,
Linda Ronstadt did a version of it.
I didn't know she did
and
that.
they, at first, they kind of gave her a hard time about it, that she was trying to do a standard. And she did this
right?
thing with Nelson Riddle. But it turned out nicely. But, of course, I grew up listening to the other artists do it, like Sinatra and all these other artists. So who was the first artist that you ever heard do this song? Do you remember?
Me? No,
You played the saxophone.
no, I don't know. I just, when we do small jazz things or jazz sessions where we get together and we just call tunes to play.
Right.
This tune, guys would call it, so I had to learn it. And it was a wonderful ballad. So I really was not inspired by any particular person that did this song. But this we recorded at UNLV and their facilities.
Oh, okay.
Had great facilities. And this was actually a trumpet solo.
And then they
The
converted
arrangement was written for trumpet solo. And I always wanted to play it, but I couldn't because there were so many great things written for the saxes to play behind the soloist that I love to play. So the way we did this, we recorded the song without the solos so that different guys later could come in and overdub their solo.
Oh.
So a couple trumpet players did, a flugelhorn, and then I came in, I want to do my version. And what's interesting for me is I can hear myself, I'm playing a solo, but I can also hear myself accompanying myself.
Accompanying yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, my
I can hear
gosh.
the figures, the gorgeous figures the saxes are playing because I know the chart.
Did you ever do that live?
No, because it was...
No, I'm just kidding. Did you ever? Okay. Brum-bum. All right, let's listen to What's New. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to Jazz and Cocktails with your host, Sandy Kastel. And we are broadcasting live from Las Vegas on KLAV and streaming online at KLAV1230am.com. Rebroadcasts of our show can be found this Friday at 10 a.m. on VegasAllNetRadio.com. My guest tonight is Roger Hall, and that was What's New. Now we're going to take a station break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Sandy Kastel. Are you ready for an evening of fashion, entertainment, and fun? Well, join James Kelly and myself at the Boca Park Summer Bash, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m., sponsored by KLAV, Cadillac of Las Vegas, and the Stores of Boca Park to support WIMA, Women in Music and Arts Foundation. James Kelly and I will be broadcasting live on KLAV with a behind-the-scenes look at the event from 4 to 5 p.m. There will be live entertainment, poetry, food, and fashion. Gift baskets worth $100 donated by the Stores of Boca Park will be raffled off, so come and join us at the Boca Park Summer Bash, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m.
The Boca Park Summer Bash, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Live entertainment, poetry, food, fashion, and prizes with Sandy Kastel and James Kelly broadcasting live. The Boca Park Summer Bash, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Welcome back to Women in Music and Arts, Jazz and Cocktails, an intimate look into the world of jazz and its musicians, singers, and songwriters. Now, here again, your host, recording artist, Sandy Kastel.
Welcome back to Jazz and Cocktails with your host, Sandy Kastel, broadcasting live from Las Vegas every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. on KLAV 1230 AM radio. My guest tonight is Roger Hall, and we've been listening to some of the music that he's been had been recording throughout his life as a musician, which has been quite an extensive and well-rounded life. I understand you just celebrated your birthday.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Went to California, did up the new Disney park, had a ball with my daughter and her husband, and became a kid again, and It was just wonderful. I love being there. A lot of fun.
Well, you were saying that you like the opportunity to play at Disneyland.
Yes, and I actually had a chance to with the Cy Zentner band, which was a very famous trombone player, and he had a music library that was just to die for, a dream. The arrangements were gorgeous, and actually he asked me, so we're going to play in Disneyland on New Year's night, not New Year's Eve. But he also said, I need New Year's Eve too. I got at Bellagio. I need you. And then we're taking a bus. I got a bus. We're going to go to Disneyland.
Oh my gosh!
The whole band. And I've always wanted to play on that stage down there because my wife and I were ballroom dancers, and we used to dance down there to all the big bands, Harry James, Count Basie, and all those people. So I finally had a chance to play on that bandstand, which was sort of a dream. Because I told Cy Zentner, I said, I don't care what it pays, I want to do it. I'll be there. And my wife and I and all the band members and their girlfriends went down, and it was a real ball in the bus.
Well, you mentioned something that I don't see too often with a musician, is that you said you were a ballroom dancer?
I never danced, of course. Being a musician, you always play.
That's what I mean,
Well, you
yeah.
go there to hear a band. So
Yeah.
I'd just gone through a divorce in 80. 83. And lived in a little apartment. So I said, I want to do something I've never done before. I'm going to learn how to dance.
Oh my
I saw an
God.
ad in the paper, this independent dance studio, 3 lessons for $10. I'm going to do that.
3 lessons for $10. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I went down, and of course I signed up. The teachers liked to teach me because when they found out I was a musician, they said, well, Roger knows where 1 is. They know where that'll be. A lot of guys have no clue. But
it's a matter of getting your feet and your body to do that with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was fun, and that's how I met my third wife, who was a jewel. I had 20 years of magic with that woman.
Oh.
She was an excellent dancer. It was like a scene out of a movie.
Oh,
She was an
really?
excellent dancer. I didn't know her, but on the weekends they'd open up the dance studio to the public, so you
Yes.
could dance with regular people, not just teachers. And I saw this little blonde-haired lady sitting across the floor. I said, she looks interesting. Asked her to dance. I got one dance, took her back. She sat down. I couldn't get next to her because all the teachers wanted to dance with her. She was that good. Next week, I'm on the edge of the dance floor, and there she is again. Went asked her to dance, took her back to the chair, and that was it. Third week, and there she is again. I think her name is Helen or something.
So did you keep going back to dance classes because of her?
No.
Oh.
No, I still wanted to
You
learn
really,
to
really
dance.
wanted to dance then.
So the third time, I asked her to dance, and while we're dancing, I asked her out to dinner. And then from there it escalated, and we kept going. Then we were taking some dance lessons together, although she used to own a dance studio.
So
And
she
she
was
was danced all her
natural,
life
yeah.
and had competed in Hawaii and various places. She was that good.
That's great. So here you are now, and you're playing on stage, and the same stages that you had heard, Harry James and all these different players, and you were dancing out in the audience. But here now you are playing on the stage.
Yeah. Oh, that was a thrill.
yourself.
Really. And I got some video of it. So, but just to prove that I actually did that. But yeah, that's fun.
That's great. Well, who was your biggest inspiration?
Well, I'm
As a musician.
I'm an alto sax player.
Yeah.
But I don't really listen to a lot of alto players. I appreciate what they do, and I know how good a lot of them are. I'm more influenced by tenor saxophone players. Alto players, a lot of them are too slurpy, slippy, slidey, bending. Where tenor players like Zoot Sims and Stan Getz, these are sort of my idols. This is what I try to play like.
And it has a different tone, totally.
Yes,
Yeah.
different tone and a different feel, and more gutsy.
Well, how does that affect you playing the alto, though? I mean, if you're listening to tenor players.
Well, hopefully I develop my own style, own way of playing, and own sound.
Okay.
Sort of one of my goals is if somebody walks into a place and the band is playing in another room and they can't see them, if they can hear a saxophone play and say, "That's Roger," they don't have to see me to know.
They can tell your
Yeah,
style.
I don't want them to come in and say, geez, it sounds like Johnny Hodges, or sounds like Marshall Royal,
Yeah.
or he sounds like, I don't know who he is, but he sounds like Charlie Parker.
You want to have your own unique style.
Yeah, I play my own bag, and I don't try to imitate anybody. I really can't, I don't think. I've never tried. I play what I like, and if that doesn't work, then I'll get a day job or do something.
Well, I've watched you play. I've seen you play. I've heard you play in the bands that in the band that we put together for the E String, and you're very passionate, about it. And what is it they said? You're the sexiest sax player in Las Vegas.
That's what Marcia said. Yeah. I'm like, what?
So now you have a new tagline. See, Roger, the sexiest player in Las Vegas. Hall.
Here he is.
But let me ask you this. I know from watching my dad all these years, did you buy special mouthpieces or try out different mouthpieces to get a certain sound?
No.
No?
Most players have drawers full of mouthpieces.
Yeah.
And they're constantly.
I know a few people.
yeah, I can imagine, yes. And on the stand, rehearsal, I kind of see guys say, hey, have you tried this mouthpiece? No, I haven't. Well, here, I got a new one. And they try that. And then they ask me, how do I sound? I said, sound like you always sound. I don't know. Especially if they maybe put on another mouthpiece and maybe they sound a little different. But after about 15 minutes, they're back to themselves sound, because they hear in their mind, I guess, like I do, and every player, what they want to sound like, and they adjust to the new mouthpiece. But they're constantly, they've pretty much quit asking me anymore, hey, does this sound good? Is this darker?
Well,
does it have a lighter sound? Is it more brittle? I said, oh, geez, just play
Well,
it.
so you never did that? You
No.
just bought a mouthpiece and whatever, and played on that mouthpiece forever, or what?
I was playing at the Sahara Hotel, subbing on the second alto chair, and the lead alto player used to make mouthpieces. And I had a good mouthpiece. It seemed to work for me.
Yeah.
And one night he showed up and he says, hey, Roger, I'd like to try this mouthpiece. I said, oh, I don't want to get in that spin of mouthpieces. No, you got to get different reeds, different maker reeds, and different ligatures. He said, well, just try it. He didn't know, I wasn't looking for a mouthpiece, and he didn't know what I was using, really. He just made it. And I fell in love with it. It was the perfect mouth. I've been playing it for 35 years, the same mouthpiece. And it didn't sound like that from what I remember, but I gradually, by practice and everything, I gradually developed a sound that I wanted to do.
That you liked, right?
Yeah. So I don't get into that mouthpiece spin. And Phil Woods, who is one of the premier alto players in the entire country, he's just a monster player.
Yes.
And he used to play sometimes with Charlie Parker. And in his biography, I have a documentary, and he said one afternoon he's at a session, and on a break he sat on next to Charlie Parker and says, Charlie said, my horn doesn't seem to play like, I don't know if it's leaking or it just doesn't feel. So Charlie says, here, let me try it. Charlie put his mouthpiece, it was just magnificent. So Phil said, that's it. He says, I quit looking for the magic mouthpiece. I quit looking for the magic reed, the magic ligature, the magic neck strap. He says, I went home and started to practice.
So
And
it's all about the player. It's just like the golf clubs. If you're a golfer, and you're always trying new golf clubs, but the bottom line is your swing is your swing is your swing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's listen to another one of the songs here. It's called Lover. Where was this one recorded, Roger?
This actually was recorded in my living room.
Really? Okay.
I had
You have a big living room?
Yeah, well, it was actually a track,
Oh, okay.
and just a rhythm section, professional rhythm section.
Okay.
And when I got done, I said, I want it to sound more live, so I added a little echo, and then I got some background tracks I had of crowd noise, restaurant noise. Stick it up behind so it sounds like I'm in a little club
Oh,
playing.
so that's kind of a
A lot
secret.
of people thought I was. I said, hey, yeah.
Okay, let's listen to Lover with Roger Hall. listening to Jazz and Cocktails with your host Sandy Kastel on KLAV AM 1230, and we are live from Las Vegas with Roger Hall. Roger, that was Lover, and that was recorded in your own living room. So we're going to take a little station break here and listen to our sponsors.
Join James Kelly and Sandy Kastel for a live behind-the-scenes look at the Boca Park Summer Bash for WIMA, Women in Music and Arts, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Sponsored by KLAV, Cadillac of Las Vegas, Nevada Youth Alliance, Silk and Satin Records, and the Stores of Boca Park. There will be live music, food, fashion, prizes, poetry readings, and more. Tickets will be available for prizes from Boca Park stores. Join us for a day of fun and help support the arts. This is Sandy Kastel, and I will see you there.
Welcome back to Women in Music and Arts, Jazz and Cocktails, an intimate look into the world of jazz and its musicians, singers, and songwriters. Now, here again, your host, recording artist, Sandy Kastel.
Welcome back to Jazz and Cocktails with your host, Sandy Kastel on KLAV AM 1230. We are live from Las Vegas. For your listening convenience, this show is also online at at KLAVAM1230.com, and the rebroadcast can be heard at VegasAllNetRadio.com on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. You can learn more about our show and our sponsors, Women in Music and Arts, on our website at WIMA International or WIMAFoundation.org, I should say. That's WIMA Foundation.org. My guest tonight is Roger Hall, and we've been listening to songs that he's recorded with various different bands and also in his own living room.
Yes.
And what I want to talk a little bit with you about is education and how important it is. Now, I asked you earlier, before we got on the show, if you had a formal education as a musician by going to college, but it sounds like most of your education has been by actually playing, right? Just in
Yes, I never took. I took lessons
in school, in high school. Yeah.
But I never had formal education, college, or took lessons by some of the top players in the country. Mm-hmm. Probably a lot of this I should have done. I've tried arranging, and I thought maybe that was the direction I'd go and I could take some lessons in that, but I was not good at it. It didn't really turn me on. So I said, well, I'm a player. I'm a performer.
Right.
That's what I want to do. So I sort of stuck with that. I'm sure I would have gone further and be more varied in my career if I'd have had a lot of formal education like a lot of guys have. But when I wound up here, I got into this great, almost once in a lifetime chance with a band to do the variety of things and get paid and not have to go on the road, and I could still play my horn, and a variety of things from juggler music to things like Gordon Jenkins wrote the entire show. Michel Legrand wrote the whole show for Casino de Paris. Mm-hmm. Couldn't wait to get there just to play the gorgeous arrangement.
So you actually got a lot of your further education was really working in the fact that you were able to do all these shows and this variety of shows and create a career for yourself.
Yeah, if I'd have had to drift into a house band and stay on one show for a year or something, then I wouldn't have had the variety.
So how important do you think getting a formal education is for young musicians today?
I think it's even more important than then, because when I was coming up, there were a lot of places, a lot of joints, a lot of places you could play steady and work, which don't exist anymore.
Right.
So if you're just a section player and just a normal average horn player, you're not going to get anywhere. The description of a homeless saxophone player is a guy that does not have a girlfriend. And it's so I think you really need formal education, and it's available.
It is available, and in fact, the organization that we have, which is Women in Music and Arts, WIMA, WIMA, we're empowering artists of all ages through education and mentorship.
Wonderful.
And I know you're familiar with that because you are our WIMA band when we get together. And I'm so fortunate that I have my father and all the wonderful musicians that we've been able to perform with. And it's been to support the arts in the schools, and we're raising money for scholarships. So I want to thank you again for being a guest on our show tonight.
Well, thank you.
And for being a part of our WIMA organization. We're very fortunate to have seasoned musicians like yourself, and as young as you are, and you just having your birthday and celebrating with your daughter and her family out in the California.
Well, I'm too busy to get old. I got stuff to do.
You got stuff to do, places to go, people to see.
Absolutely.
Songs to sing. It's songs to play, I should say.
I got to keep getting better and better. I don't have time to stagnate, marinate. I'm not going to sit in front of the TV watching The Price is Right like some of my friends do. I don't understand that. Anyway,
well, you're keeping active, you're keeping passionate, and I would just want to thank you for continuing to rehearse and continuing to support the arts by getting involved with organizations such as WIMA, and to be such a good influence and a mentor to other young musicians as you have been. Because in those bands we have a variety of different ages. We have a lot of the guys that are about in your age range, but we also have a lot of the young guys that are coming and sitting in with you guys, and they're getting exposed to a lot of these great charts that you have over at the Jim Hemmings studio. So thank you again, Roger Hall, for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
And we are listening to Jazz and Cocktails with your host, Sandy Kastel, on KLAV AM 1230. We are live from Las Vegas, and we're here every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. So please come back and join us. And we're going to end this show by playing the next song, which was Our Love Is Here to Stay.
Yes.
Join James Kelly and Sandy Kastel for a live behind-the-scenes look at the Boca Park Summer Bash for WIMA, Women in Music and Arts, Saturday, July 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. Sponsored by KLAV, Cadillac of Las Vegas, Nevada Youth Alliance, Silk and Satin Records, and the Stores of Boca Park. There will be live music, food, fashion, prizes, poetry readings, and more. Tickets will be available for prizes from Boca Park stores. Join us for a day of fun and help support the arts. This is Sandy Kastel, and I will see you there.